Ryan Garcia had hand surgery a couple days ago. We've seen the pictures of it. It's evident he did have legitimate hand surgery, and it did not look very pretty overall. Now, what comes to fruition is that Oscar De La Hoya has told reporters that Ryan Garcia will now have his shoulder examined after undergoing successful wrist surgery. Oscar has also said that he wants Ryan to look into taking a whole year off. Let me state the facts right at the gate. If Ryan Garcia is physically unable to step in the ring, there's no other option on the table other than taking a year off to fully recover. Obviously, that's your answer in the route you have to go down. You really don't have an option at that point in time. So I want to make that clear. If that's the route that Ryan Garcia must do to get healthy, I have no problem with that. But if Oscar De La Hoya is suggesting that Ryan Garcia takes a year off simply just to recover for the first 6 months or so, but then also from a mental standpoint, whatever it might be, that's a very risky decision to make. The reason I say that is if we go back to 420 of last year, when Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney fought, before we know about what happened, obviously outside of the ring, Ryan Garcia was at the height of his career. He just made one of the biggest upsets and statements that we could have ever seen or imagined happening last year, when he dropped Devin Haney multiple times and then got the win at that point in time. He was at the top of the world. We were all looking at Ryan Garcia a little bit differently. And then comes out the PED situation. He gets suspended for an entire year, so on and so forth. All right. I go back to December, though. He had an exhibition fight planned to go out there to Japan and fight. And I thought that would have been a great idea. Keep him active. Because at the end of the day, the biggest issue for a lot of boxers is staying active. And there was a exhibition fight lined up for Ryan Garcia, which he could have done. It was not an official fight, so his suspension would not have mattered in that situation. He could have done the exhibition fight. Oscar De La Hoya came out and said, you know what? Let's not let this fight happen. And then an injury happened and so on and so forth happened. I truly do believe that Oscar De La Hoya just did not want that fight to occur. And that's why the fight did not happen. And I'm thinking in hindsight now, that was detrimental to Ryan Garcia. If Ryan Garcia had that and got some boxing rounds under his belt heading into the Raleigh fight, things might have been a little bit different. Now, maybe not, but potentially it could have been. It would have set him up for a more successful opportunity when he fought at Times Square. Then we fast forward and he goes out there and fights Rolly Romero. Absolutely abysmal performance. And now we could say, you know what? He should have beat Rolly Romero. No excuses made. However, obviously, if he had a clear-cut wrist injury, and now he might have a shoulder injury as well. If all those things factor into this equation, then obviously we're in a situation where, guess what? Ryan Garcia was injured and hampered in that fight. But here's the problem I have. If you are suggesting that Ryan Garcia should go out there and take an entire year off, that would mean that Ryan Garcia would have only fought one time in the duration of 2 years in his physical prime. That is not okay. And if he has no other option, then he has no other option. But after the performance against Rolly Romero and having all these injuries at his age in his physical prime and that much of a layoff, there could be serious issues about his career moving forward where I don't know if he's going to be able to bounce back successfully. Now, only time will tell on that situation, but what I will question Oscar De La Hoya on is this. As I said in the beginning, if Ryan Garcia has no other option other than to sit out, then he has no other option. But if there is a potential route in which Ryan Garcia can return in 6 months, and even though it's not a big fight, but he returns to fight somebody that he can definitely beat and get some rounds, or even do an exhibition fight, then Ryan Garcia needs to go out and do that. Because this much inactivity at his age is not going to be okay for him. He needs to stay in that ring, get active, and get healthy, both up here and obviously everything else below the head. Because Ryan Garcia does have talent. I'm not going to deny that. He is very talented. But if his mental and his body is not healthy, then that's not going to be a good Ryan Garcia. He needs it all to come together. And if that does take another year off from boxing to do that, then guess what? Do that. But I just have to be very skeptical about being willing to risk taking an entire calendar year off once again. Because Ryan Garcia is not in a position where he should be taking any more time off. His biggest issue, I feel like, in that fight against Rolly Romero was inactivity and maybe even injuries. But that inactivity kills a lot of fighters. And so Ryan Garcia, hopefully they make the right decision. I hope he gets back to 100%. But he needs to get healthy up here and the rest of his body as well if he wants to perform at a high level. And I just hope that that's not going to require him to miss an entire calendar year of boxing because that would be detrimental to his career.